Hello everyone, welcome back. So today's topic is going to be on the concepts of recursion and iteration. What exactly is recursion? What is iteration concept? And what is the major difference between recursion and iteration? And which one is better, either recursion or iteration? So at the end of the video, you will clearly able to answer what is a recursive function, what is an iterative function, what is an iterative statement. Okay, and why did I choose this particular topic? Why did I want to teach you the comparison between recursion and iteration is whenever you go sit for placement, any placement drive, okay, the first major question, not the first major question, the very important question that you will be getting is what is recursive function, what is the difference between recursion and iteration, explain recursion using an example. Okay, even when you go write any university exams, okay, the very important question that will be asked will be recursion and iteration. So coming to placement point of view, I'll be teaching you the difference between recursion and iteration. Okay, so in any case, in any exam, either competitive exams or any exams, when a question is asked like this, okay, the first point that you have to write is the actual definition of the terms. So the first point that I'll be writing is definition of recursion and definition of iteration. Okay, so what is a recursive function? When a function is called again and again, then it is called as recursive function. See the example here. Sample is the function definition, and within the definition I'm invoking another function. I'm making a function call where to which function it is calling, it is pointing to the same function. Okay, such functions are called as recursive function. Clear? But what is iteration? Set of statements when they are executed again and again repeatedly, then they are called as iterative statements. Okay, so execution of set of statements or instructions repeatedly is called as iteration. See the example here. Iteration, we are mainly going to make use of control structures, whereas at recursion we'll be using function. Okay, so this is the first difference between recursion and iteration. Coming to the second difference, okay, achieved. Recursion is achieved by calling same function. So how it is achieved? Calling same function many times. So it is achieved by calling the same function many times. Okay, so this is how recursion is achieved. How is iteration achieved? It is achieved using looping control statements. Got it? Like for while statements. Okay, so how do we achieve recursion? Using function. Okay, within function call we are calling the same function. So this is how recursion is achieved, whereas iteration, the iteration is achieved using only looping control statements like while and for looping control statements. Okay, and here it is mainly, the next third point is mainly performed on, where it is performed, it is performed on functions. This is a third difference. It is mainly performed on functions. The third point in iteration is it is performed, where it is performed on set of instructions, right? So the third point will be performed on set of instruction until condition is true. So it is performed on set of instructions until some condition is true. This is the third point. Coming to the fourth point, what do we actually need in order to implement recursion? So in order to implement recursions within recursive function, we can only make use of conditional statements such as if else, nested if else, ladder, else if statements. Okay, so to implement, fourth point is to implement recursion, conditional statements such as if else, and so on are used. Okay, whereas to implement iteration, we need looping control statements. Okay, so we need looping control statements in order to implement iteration. The next fifth point is, since we are calling, see here, since we are calling the function again and again, there are few overheads in the compiler. So the fifth difference will be overhead in compiler due to function calls. So overheads are occurred. Overhead in compiler is occurred due to due to function calls. Okay, whereas in iteration there are no overheads. There are no overheads in case of iteration. Okay, the next point, the sixth point. What is the sixth point? Since there are overheads, what will happen? The execution will be slow. Okay, slow in execution. Recursion will be slow in execution. Whereas here, since there are no overheads in iteration, it is fast in execution. Okay, the next one, seventh point. Okay, so why do we actually go for the recursive concept is because when we write program using recursion, the number of lines we get an optimized code, which means the program will be the code will programs are smaller in size. Okay, because we get an optimized code. That's why we go for the concept of recursion. So the next point will be recursion programs are smaller in size. Okay, next one. Whereas in iteration programs are large in size. Okay, this is the seventh one. And the last point, see, all programs cannot be solved using all problems cannot be solved using recursion, whereas every problem can be solved using iteration. Okay, so the last point will be not all programs can be solved using recursion, whereas every problem can be solved using iteration. Okay, this is the next point. So let me just give an overview of the comparison between recursion and iteration. The first point that I've written is the actual definitions of recursion and iteration. When a function is called again, again, then it is called as recursive function. When a set of statements are executed repeatedly, then they are called as iteration. Okay, so this is achieved using a function. This is achieved using looping control statements. Next one, the same point. Next one, the recursion function, it is mainly implemented using if else and so on. This is implemented using looping control statements. Next one, overhead is occurred because since there are major function calls, a function it's calling again and again, there is overhead in the compiler. There are no overheads when you talk about iterations. Since there are overheads, it is slow in execution. There are no overheads, fast in execution. Okay. Mainly we choose recursive function only because of optimized code, whereas here you get optimized code. This is the advantage of recursion, whereas iteration programs are larger in size. Not all problems will be solved using recursion. Every problem can be solved using iteration. So this is the actual difference. Okay. So I hope you understood the concept. Thank you.